A very warm welcome back to your latest industry news. From some shock developments at Air Canada related to an aircraft that we thought was to be retired, to Singapore Airlines upgrading its A350s, and fascinating developments at Greater Bay Airlines. Why not begin with Air Canada, who will resume 767 passenger flights on a temporary basis as the airline battles considerable aircraft delivery delays, alongside other issues related to the upkeeping of its current fleet. Such a move from the Canadian flag carrier is seen as another measure by this company to help cope with just what is taking place in our industry, which is a widespread problem when related to fleet. The 767 has been an essential pillar of Air Canada's operation for quite some time, and I speak of it in the present for a certain reason. In 2020, however, the flag carrier discontinued passenger flights on this family when the COVID-19 pandemic broke out. Instead of completely removing the 767 from its business, the airline responded to spiking cargo demand and conversions occurred. 767s previously operating with the passenger division were switched to the freight operation. Quite a fascinating move that we've seen other airlines follow. The removal of the 767s in a passenger sense did make way for more efficient flying, and was also in response to the drop in demand. If the global pandemic did one good thing for airlines, it allowed them to do that all-important fleet renewal process that maybe they had been putting off or weren't able to conduct at a fast enough rate. But when restrictions began to ease, demand levels surged back quicker than anticipated, leaving airlines scrambling to reactivate planes and meet capacity. However, one of the biggest problems came from the availability of new fuel-efficient aircraft. This global pandemic really decimated supply chains and meant that your aircraft manufacturers were not able to meet delivery deadlines for new aircraft. And unfortunately, despite restrictions easing over 2 years ago, this is a theme that has continued, and airlines are feeling the effects of aircraft available. For Air Canada, not all 767s were actually sent to the freight division, with some being retired and just simply moved to long-term storage for, you'd guess, essentially scrapping. Now though, the airline has new plans for this type. 2 767-300ERs will join the Air Canada fleet, or should I say rejoin, as a temporary insurance to cover lost capacity from 2025 and make sure that the route network isn't as affected as it could be. So again, I'll reiterate, it's a temporary insurance measure, and Air Canada by no means, and has reiterated this on several occasions, states that the 767s will be back for good. Air Canada recently published an investor release which really detailed its aircraft delivery expectations across the next 5 years. Ultimately, this highlighted the expected 90 planes that would be delivered in this time frame. But the first few years are going to be a little bit slower. In that video, you may recall, I also had a little bit of a chuckle, just under the assumption, which is complete speculation, that manufacturers may struggle to completely adhere to this overall time frame. But by bringing the 767 back, they can rely on a workhorse and try build stability as they await the delivery of next generation planes that could stretch from the 787-10 to the A321 XLR. While the 767s will come back, they won't be around forever. There is a fundamental reason why they were retired, and that hasn't changed. Generally, the return shows the dire situation which is leaving industry leaders such as Air Canada in. They're in a consistent battle to meet demand with aircraft that are just simply unavailable. Over to Greater Bay Airlines, who are looking to expand their route network quite significantly as they try to compete better with major airlines all fighting for market share. To gain greater control to the Japanese market, Greater Bay focuses on routes towards lesser-known cities that it believes it can still attract an overall significant customer base. The carrier firmly believes that by serving markets that are ultimately underserved, it means it'll carve out a nice little niche for itself. Many airlines right around the world have sought something similar in competitive markets like Japan's. Greater Bay Airlines launched flights to Unago, and hopefully I've pronounced that correctly, but knowing me, probably haven't, and this isn't a move to execute the strategy. Yes, Greater Bay already flies to the likes of Tokyo and Osaka, but the new route I touch on is that first real attempt to seize market share in other cities. Since its launch, Greater Bay Airlines has been firmly up against it, facing heavy competition. They're the smallest at the airport they call home, and they therefore must find ways to really cement their future and advance in a sustainable manner. Competition doesn't just come from the Cathay Pacific Group, but it extends to other major international airlines that are located in parts of Asia. This could include, but shouldn't just be limited to, Singapore Airlines, who have an incredibly vast network that can hinder the growth and objectives of others. According to Greater Bay's CEO, all of their goals will be achieved through exploring lesser known locations, with intense competition always going to be at your major cities. If they can move towards smaller ones that still are going to yield them a return, it'll be a positive development. More routes will be launched in the coming weeks, with specific cities of focus that are underserved by competing airlines. While demand may not be the same, the theory is that they'll be able to carve out a spot for themselves. Over to the final story, Singapore Airlines has become the latest carrier to announce a pretty big investment in the retrofitting of its existing fleet to update the standards. The Changi-based company is slated to invest some Singapore 1.1 billion into its A350-900 fleet by installing a new long-haul cabin product. The major program will see 41 aircraft included, with the A350-900s and the unique ULR variants optimized for ultra long-haul travel. Singapore says it'll introduce a luxurious first-class cabin on 7 of its A350 ULRs, aimed at flying on some of the world's longest flights, with an all-upper-class configuration. No economy for these ones. They will be installing these first-class seats to push the boundaries of long-haul travel, aiming to really set a benchmark for what you should expect on up to 20-hour journeys. These suites are slated to be designed with the traveller in mind, and Singapore said quite firmly that once they fly, these ULRs will deliver an unparalleled in-flight experience. Furthermore, Singapore will also change its business class, with new upcoming seats to offer an innovative design. Across the 41 aircraft, a focus will be placed on these core fundamental things: convenience, comfort, and ensuring that there is maximum privacy. From the ground up, Singapore is committed to heavily getting this retrofit program done right to ensure that the planes can align with the times that we are in now, and for the airline to stay at the top of its class, and to also continue being renowned as one of the best, not just locally, but in the world. An ergonomic business and first-class product are crucial to achieving this, and it is paramount that they consider customers' preferences, which are catered towards a more spacious environment. While there remains uncertainty on when the 777X will be delivered, you may be wondering why I'm mentioning this, Singapore Airlines has confirmed that the same seat designs to be implemented on these 41 A350s will go on to feature on the 777-9. Much of the focus has rested on the upper class cabins, but they are still investing in the lower classes. The first aircraft is expected to enter service in 2026, and permitting that there are no hiccups, Singapore Airlines hope the entire program will be completed by the end of 2030. Thank you very much for your support here on the channel. Take care, be safe, and I'll see you tomorrow for your next industry recap.